Gary Palmer, he's the CEO of Paragon Lending Solutions. He joins me now for more on the South African business owners that are looking to non-bank lenders for financing in 2015. Gary, thanks so much. I think first let's get a difference or let's look at the difference between non-banking institutions and smaller banks, and which ones that small to medium businesses are more geared towards.
Firstly, thanks for having me on the show. I just want to start sort of 2009, and obviously the market was dominated by the big commercial banks. And obviously with the recession post-2009, you saw an emergence of non-bank lenders, as well as, I would say, smaller banks coming into the market. And what I noticed as well over the last few years, a lot of asset managers and other institutions coming to the market. So it's been quite fascinating over the last few years when the big commercial banks have almost taken a little bit of a back seat, and you've seen a lot of other lenders coming to the market to fill the void. So a lot of small banks, they're still governed by the same regulations as the big banks. They are targeting sort of smaller businesses where they can deal with their transactional banking. You know, the nice thing now for owner-managed businesses, for property investors and developers, there's a choice. Pre-2009, there was a choice between the big commercial banks. Now, there's a whole host of other lenders in the market that they can choose from.
What's important to a small or medium business owner is it being able to get the cash quickly and not, and maybe be prepared to pay a premium on the interest rates? Or is it a combination of the two?
It's the ability to get funding for working capital for their business. It's actually not so much about price. The problem that we've seen in South Africa is that entrepreneurs, owner-managed businesses, small businesses have battled over the last few years to even get overdraft facilities for their business. So the big commercial banks are focusing on the big corporate clients. But what we've seen is even entrepreneurs phoning me every day, small businesses saying, you know, we're trying with our banks, our big commercial banks, but we can't get the funding. So I think the access to capital is critical. You know, do smaller businesses want to pay a premium? Not necessarily. If anything, they shouldn't, because they're small and they can't afford it. So it's the ability for these small businesses and even property developers and investors to obtain funding and obtain it quickly.
Yeah. So they don't obviously want to pay a premium, but do they? Is that what we're seeing? Is that the norm for these non-banks? Do they charge a little bit more than what you would get from a bank?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think it's all got to do with risk. So what we've seen is naturally the bigger banks since 2009, they've definitely increased their pricing. So on a home loan pre-2009, you could get prime -2 on a home loan. Now, if you get prime -1 to even prime -0.5, it's good. When I speak to commercial banks about commercial property finance, they're talking around prime, where 4 or 5 years ago you'll be at prime -1, prime -1.5. The smaller banks also have increased their pricing. And when I refer to non-bank lenders, talking about sort of private lenders or other institutions, they will charge a premium to the banks because, you know, the banks are the cheapest form of funding in South Africa. Because they are deposit-taking institutions. So, you know, if owner-managed businesses, small businesses, property investors borrow money from non-bank lenders, they will pay a premium, but the terms and conditions of those deals are a little bit different.
What about the tax relief from the budget speech that we heard from Minister Nhlanhla? Now, saying that if you've got small businesses with a turnover of less than $1 million, there are certain reliefs when it comes to tax. So are we not going to be seeing your big banks capitalizing on that?
Well, I think it's brilliant. I mean, to be able to really incentivize small businesses to enable them to grow is incredible. You know, unfortunately, the level of entrepreneurship in South Africa compared with globally, the global market is very low. So anything that small businesses can get from government in terms of tax breaks, tax reliefs is excellent. But again, I've got to come down to the point is that, you know, businesses need debt. You know, they need debt to grow. I mean, I'm seeing huge amounts of clients calling me and saying, all I want to do is I want to fund growth. So it's a positive story. It's not, I want to fund, I'm in trouble, so please help me through the trouble. It's actually, I want to fund growth. Where do I go? Because they're not winning with the banks. So yes, tax relief is excellent, but the ability to obtain capital is vital.
So it's great that we have these other players because
Yes.
they're a lot more nimble and innovative. Thank you so much. That was Gary Palmer. He's the CEO of Paragon Lending Solutions.